Hey guys, here I am bringing you another PvP video for Guild Wars 2. There's a few things I wanted to talk about before I continue on with the video and go over what specifically we're going to be talking about today. Number one is I was going to make a beta weekend video this week, and I had even made a recording, an audio recording, and had footage all set up with all the different specializations, or the ones I played at least, and that kind of fell through. I had real life stuff to take care of, school stuff that needed to be done, and it just got out, just slipped through my hands. So, but that's all finished now, everything's fine, and now I can make a video for you guys tonight, or today, or whenever you decide to watch the video, and it's going to be about Thief today, so we're going to be going over Thief stuff. The second thing is, it's going to be on the Twitch stream. I will be streaming tomorrow or today, Saturdays, on Saturday at 12 p.m. PST, or no, EST, 12 p.m. EST. And that's going to be a recurring thing. I will be streaming Guild Wars 2 every single Saturday at 12 p.m. EST. We're doing all sorts of different things. We're doing PvP, PvE, the couple streams I've done have been pretty successful, so also on the topic of stream, there was a stream that I did with my guild leader in Mega, and we had like this little podcast that we did called Mega Talks, and we talked about the beta weekend and stuff. So if you really want my true opinion on everything, you can go watch that video. I'll put the link in the description below. It's kind of a long video, but if you don't mind, listen to like 5 funny, dorky, nerdy people talk about Guild Wars 2, then go ahead and watch it. So now let's get on to the actual video and the actual PvP guide. So today we'll be going over Thief. And as usual, we'll be going over the same general format as last time, so we'll be going over the specializations and their traits, the PvP build, the weapons, sigils, and runes, and amulet, and all of the skills that we'll be going through. And then after that, I'll talk about some tips and tricks. Now, disclaimer, I am not the best thief in the world, but I do know how to play Thief. At least I know all the mechanics and stuff, how you should be playing. And I know what utilities are bringing and what the builds are, so if it's really, this is just to start you guys off on Thief, knowing what to bring, what specializations are, what the weapons are, sigils and everything, and just got to get you guys started. And it's up to you to practice the class and get good at it. So that's really the thing. Practice is key. I had a few questions asked in the comments like, "Oh, show us how to play Guardian. This is that." It's like, I really can't. I can only show you so much. It's really up to you guys to take the class and practice it. And I think I have a video that I'll link in the description below talking about what to do when you want to get good at a class, what you want to get good at PvP. So I'll put that in the description below so you guys can get, kind of some info on that and everything. So let's get started. So, the Thief. So this is, the Thief overall is kind of, it's a tricky class. It's probably one of the harder classes to play just because of several different things, and I'll go over that in a bit. But the specializations we'll be talking about are Trickery, Deadly Arts, and Shadow Arts. So in Trickery, this is really the most important specialization, has most of the best traits that the Thief has. So the minor traits are Kleptomaniac, which gives us stealing. When we steal, we gain initiative, and our steal, just for future reference, so I don't have to keep referencing, our steal is our F1 skill. It's this little thing right here. It looks like a hand reaching out, and that teleports us. And when we steal, we get a random item in our second box here, dependent on the class that we stole from. So that's kind of how that works. So when we steal, we gain initiative. We have the preparedness, which we gain our maximum initiative goes up by 3, which is very useful because it's really hard. I don't know, I haven't met many thieves that don't bring this trait. I mean, there are those, but it's really good. It gives us more, little bit more wiggle room when we want to use skills. And then lead attacks, which just increases damage per initiative, but it's really it's really there for the steal recharges faster, because like normally without these traits in this line, steal would be like I think a 40-second cooldown, something like that. And with all these it's like 20 3/4 seconds. So the adept trait is going to be Thrill of the Crime. This is really powerful. It gives us might, swiftness, and fury to us and everyone else around us. So it's a nice speed boost if you want to get around fast. It's a nice increased damage boost with the fury and things. And might, it's not bad at all. And it gives everyone else those boons as well. So the master trait is Bountiful Theft. This is great because it rips boons and gives them to us, so we can take Stability, we can take might, and it doesn't matter, it takes the stacks as well, or at least most like might and stuff, it takes the stacks, but stability, I only think it takes one stack off. I'm not really sure. Maybe it doesn't. I haven't really, when you're playing Thief, you don't really notice that stuff until like later on. You go back and watch your video recordings of yourself and stuff, but aside from all the other traits you could bring, none of these are really worth it unless, like, you know, there's some Condi traits in this line, like the Caltrops one, which is bad, don't bring it, and the Flanking Strikes one, which is bad, don't bring it. I mean, if it's just not that great. They're just not as good as these traits that we'll be picking today. And as our Grandmaster brings Sleight of Hand, which we daze on our steel, which is a nice interrupt if you want to use it, and reduces the recharge of steel. So another reduced recharge. So we have 15 plus 20%. That's 35% cooldown reduction on our steel. So that's a pretty significant cooldown reduction. Then the other two are quick pockets, so, and we can just for swapping weapons, but not really worth it because, you know, you're only swapping weapons in very specific situations, so it's not really worth it to bring it. And also, it's not like Warriors where they have like a really short weapon swap cooldown, like 4 seconds. We have the normal 9 seconds. So, and then there's the bewildering ambush. If you're running a Condi build, which I won't go over in this video, or I don't even know if I will go over it all. It's not really, I mean, if you're running Condi build, that's what you bring, but we're running damage. We want to kill stuff fast with lots of numbers and crits and stuff, so that's what we're doing. Second trait line, or I mean specialization line, is Deadly Arts. This is kind of overall damage specialization line. So our minor traits are Serpent's Touch, so stealing, fix, poison, and while in the down state, your attacks apply poison. So this is kind of, you deal poison when you're down state, but the most important part is that you apply poison when you steal. The other one is Lotus Poison, so we can, when you poison them, you weaken them as well, so you weaken targets when you poison them, so it's kind of like, they combo together, and also combos with other things that you might have poison on, like your short bow and stuff. And then Exposed Weakness, which you deal damage if your target has a condition, so your target always have a condition, so you always have a flat 10% damage coming in from that. The Adept trait is Mug. Now this is great because it deals damage and it heals you. So it's about a 2,000 heal and about a 1,200 damage, you know, trait. It just basically puts more stuff on your steel. You'll notice that throughout this build, you notice that, and if I hover over steel, you'll see how much shit this thing has. Like, look at this stuff. Look at all the stuff that steel gets. And I'll talk about that at the end a little bit about why that's kind of weird and kind of wish it wasn't that way. But, you know, that's the case. The steel is a very strong skill for the thief. Our master trait is Panic Strike. This, when we strike a foe below the health of the threshold, which is 50%, we immobilize them, which is really nice because it just kind of catches people off guard, so they're just kind of stuck there, and you just like keep whacking at them with your auto attack. And I mean, a lot of these other traits aren't really worth it, like the Deadly Trapper. I mean, we're not using traps, and we're not gonna be, we want to stealth, so we don't want to be attacking, and I mean, revealed is whatever. I mean, 200 power, I guess it just isn't worth it to bring. This is a much stronger trait to bring overall. And the Grandmaster is Improvisation. Now, this Grandmaster, on the other hand, you can switch out if you want. Improvisation is actually really good. It's my favorite one, to be honest, out of the two that you can bring. You can use stolen items, so items that you get from opponents that you steal from. You can use those items twice. And now when you steal, one random skill category, that means the entire category. So like category meaning, for instance, our heal is a trick, or our blinding powder is a deception skill. Those, it says, okay, it chooses a random number. It says, oh, deception skills are off cooldown now. So all your deception skills will go off cooldown, be instantly off cooldown. That's a neat trait because it kind of gives you a chance to, like, usually any one of your skills on your utility bar could be, you know, instantly recharged. It's really taken for the two stolen items, like you can use them twice, but that one random skill recharge is really nice. The other Grandmaster trait you can bring is Executioner. Flat damage increase to people below 50% health. This kind of synergizes with Panic Strike because they both activate at the same time. So when you have them mobilized, you're just like 20% extra damage, you know. But improvisation is nice because you get the recharge, and I like the recharge a lot because you kind of like trick people, and you've used your shadow step, but you get it back again, you can shadow step again, so it's kind of nice. The other one is potent poison, and I mean, we're not running a Conde build, so we don't really care if poison deals more damage and is longer. Our last specialization line is Shadow Arts, and let me just explain to people before why we pick Shadow Arts over the other ones. Shadow Arts, now we take these two because they're kind of just mandatory. Trickery especially is mandatory because of how much it does to steal and how much it helps with the initiative. Deadly Arts basically for all the damage stuff that we get, and you know, if you really want to go super damage, you go Executioner. The other two trait lines we could bring are Acrobatics, or actually just Acrobatics and Critical Strikes. Critical Strikes is just a base damage boost as well, kind of brings up your damage a whole lot. And Acrobatics is really just a bad trait line. I won't go into why it's a bad trait line. It used to be really, really good, but after the trait change that we had, the specializations, it kind of got dumpstered. It isn't really that great anymore. I mean, it can kind of work with certain builds, but in this build, it isn't, you know, just doesn't get used at all. So for Shadow Arts, the minor traits are Merciful Ambush. So when you start reviving an ally, you stealth both of yourself and the target that you're reviving. So, and you revive them 10% faster. So it's a nice like little, you can just run up to someone and heal them. This is kind of where the medic thief came from. There's a build like that before. This isn't that build, but this is a really useful trait for rezzing people if you really can just get someone up really quickly. Our second minor trait is Melt with Shadows. Our stealth skills last longer. That's a bit. One more second on stealth skills. Our other one is Resilience of Shadows. So stealth effects that you apply reduce incoming attack damage. So your damage in stealth basically is reduced by 25%. On anyone. It affects everyone. It's not just yourself. It's everyone. At least as far as I know, it affects everyone that you put into stealth. So anyone is in stealth, but that by your skills, is the damage dealt to them is reduced by 25%. Pretty strong trait. Our minor trait or our depth trait in Shadow Arts is Shadow's Embrace. This removes while in stealth periodically damaging conditions, burning, bleeding, poison, torment, and confusion. It used to be a lot better before because it used to actually clear every Conde, but now only clears damaging Condes like this, which isn't too bad. That's not bad, but it's the best one we can bring out of the three. So we're not really looking for a falling trait, and we don't really care about getting a smoke screen when we're down. Our master trait is Hidden Thief. This grants stealing when you stealth, or the other way, grants stealth when you steal. So it's a nice little opener. So it's really just an instant backstab you can get. And we'll talk about backstabs in a minute. So it's just like an instant opener for your attack. You know, just start opening on someone with just a ton of damage. And it's also nice because then you can just use steal to stealth randomly around the map. So it's kind of useful that respect. We don't really care about regenning people, and we don't really care about venoms on this build, so we're not bringing any of the other traits besides this one. Our Grandmaster trait is Shadow Rejuvenation. In stealth, we regenerate health while in stealth, so it's every second we gain health, and initiative as well. So every 1 second we gain around 300 health, every 3 seconds we gain 1 initiative. So it's kind of a little like regen. You just kind of sit in stealth a little bit and gain some stuff back. Kind of very useful. It's the best one out of the bunch unless you gain stealth. I mean, you could take this trait, but it's not really good. It's actually the falling trait that got moved from the adept line, which is kind of weird. So I don't know why there's a falling trait in the Grandmaster section, which is kind of weird. And then there's a Venomous Aura, which we're not using any Venoms except our Basilisk Venom. So it's not really worth it to bring. So there was all of the specializations for Thief. If you have any questions about those, please do put them in the comments. If you think, oh, that's stupid, why would you do that? You know, I can always answer your questions like that too. I mean, you know, I'll answer any questions you throw at me about any of the stuff I talk about. So, onto the PvP build. Weapons we'll be using for this build are short bow. The reason we use short bow, it gives us the most mobility in the game, pretty much. Our short bow 5 is Infiltrator's Arrow, shadow steps to a target area. It's in 900 range. Very useful for getting him on the map super quick. The main purpose of Thief, I'll just go over this for a little bit. The main purpose of Thief in a fight or in a match overall is to run around, decap points, not capture them, decap points, and +1 fights. They're really good at just getting around the map quick, decapping the points, leaving, going to a point where there's a fight, you know, instantly bursting someone, then leaving. And if they need to stay around, you know, I mean, that's the general consensus of what they're supposed to be doing, as far as I've learned. And that makes Infiltrator's Arrow really important because it gets us around the map very quickly along with any swiftness we get. So, and the sigils we're using on the short bow are Generosity and Energy. I use Generosity and Energy personally because need more Condi clear with, especially on this build, because random Condis like Cripple and things like that don't get removed by our Shadow Arts trait, Shadow's Embrace. So that's kind of nice if we have some extra Condi clear somewhere. And Energy because, I mean, a short bow, there's not really much you could put on a short bow. You could put Fire Air if you really wanted to, if you wanted more damage from short bow, but you won't be seeing a short bow for very long. So it's just get that random Condi removal and energy, you know, endurance gain and just get out or just run around. So the second weapon set we'll be using is Dagger and Pistol. Dagger Pistol is super strong. It is probably the best weapon set right now for Thief overall, just because it gives you so much stuff. It gives you stealthing if you combine Black Powder and Heartseeker. It gives you blinds with Black Powder and Shadow Shot. It gives you teleport with Shadow Shot. It gives you a daze. I mean, it's so many things that it does. It's just really, really good and beats pretty much all the other weapon sets out of the water. There's a few things about this set that I'll talk about in the tips and tricks section of the video, just to get you guys to understand like the greatness of this weapon set for Thief, and one of the reasons why Thief is so hard to play. So the sigils we'll be using on the pistol, on the Dagger Pistol, I use Air and Leeching because massive damage. And Leeching is nice because if you swap in, you get that extra health. So Leeching does damage as well because it does steal health. I think it does a tiny bit more damage than Fire does, so it's a bit more single target damage you're getting from the Leeching as well. So, and Air obviously is also high single target damage. That's what you're really going for with the set, just like lots of single target damage here, even though Dagger kind of cleaves a little bit. On the Rune set, we'll be using Rune of the Vampirism. I talked about Rune of Vampirism before in my Ellie video, and I use it there. This is even the best situation for Rune of Vampirism because we have a heal on a really short cooldown. That means we've been proccing the fourth little tooltip here. After using your heal skill, your next attack skill steals health. So if you do that and you're stealing a lot of health, so that's why you kind of bring Leeching, because you're just stealing a bunch of health from everyone. And also like the Mist form you get below 20% health just saves your life a whole lot. Just saves your life unless you're being focused like by 5 people. Then it's kind of like but you might be able to get away. But it really helps out, and the stealing health. I mean, re-attacking so fast, also the 15% chance one can proc quite a bit as well. And obviously for the amulet, we're using Marauder because if we choose Berserker, we sit at 11,645 health. That is just not cool. We'll get one shot by pretty much everything if we take the Berserker amulet. So we want to take the Marauder amulet because the Thief has such a low base toughness. It's just better to have that extra vitality as a buffer to just save ourselves from impending doom from just random cleave damage. So it's nice to bring that. It doesn't bring our damage down a whole bunch, just brings us down by a little bit, so it's not even that big of a deal to bring Marauder over Berserker. So that's a PvP build. I'm surprised how fast I went. It's very simple to understand. Thief is a very squishy class. It needs a bit more health, and you need a Marauder amulet and Pistol Dagger, or Dagger Pistol I mean. We'll go over Dagger Pistol in a little bit, but first we're going over our utility skills, including the Steal. So Steal, it does all of this stuff, and it gives us damage, boon stripping, healing, poison, daze, fury, might, swiftness, vigor, stealth, initiative gain, and it applies boons to everyone around us. All the boons that we steal and the boons that we give vigor, swiftness, might, fury, and all that. So it's a very good skill, and we talk a little bit about that more in the tips and tricks stuff, how you can use that to your steal as a really good tool to daze, to interrupt skills, to kind of save yourself, to teleport around, to move around and stuff like that. So, and it got buffed a little bit by its range. It got a range increase after the trait change. So really awesome skill. On our heal, we'll be using Withdraw. mainly because it's just an instant cast heal. It gives us an evade, it cures immobilization, chill, and cripple, so it's a nice conde removal. The only reason we don't bring Hidden Shadows is because it takes so long to cast. It's like you could get randomly just knocked out of it, and it's 30 seconds long. It doesn't really synergize well with the Rune of Vampirism. It is a higher heal, but a higher cooldown as well, so you're kind of giving taking from that. I mean, if you really want to run Hiding Shadows, it's up to you, but I do recommend Withdraw over that one. And the other two, the Venom one isn't very good for this build, or it's not really good overall anyway. And Signet Malice is not really good for PvP overall, unless you're running some weird Signet Might stacking build. But Withdrawal is the best bet right now. For utilities, we're going to go over a couple of them that you can use. It's up to your preference. So right now we're using Infiltrator Signet, Blinding Powder, Shadow Step. Infiltrator Signet is basically, its passive is regenerates 1 extra initiative every 10 seconds, but you're really taking it for the active. It's a break stun, and it teleports Shadow Steps to your foe. It has a 900 range, but you can still Shadow Step even if they're outside of the range. That's mainly what it brought for, is a break stun and the Shadow Step. And the Blinding Powder, it's like, not is it only a blast finisher, but it gives you stealth. It's just an instant stealth, and does blinding as well. So kind of a nice stealth mechanic, stealth skill we got there. And you should always bring Shadow Step. Like, there's no other thief build out there that doesn't bring Shadow Step, as far as I know. It's not only a break stun, it's actually a double break stun, because if you break stun from the first initial cast, and if they stun you again, you can just tap it and return back to your starting location, and you break stun again and cure 3 conditions. So it's a Conde Cleanse, it's a double break stun, and it's a nice little teleport to get you around, to kind of like deceive enemies when you're fighting them. And as far as our elite goes, we'll be taking Basilisk Venom. Really, Thieves Guild and the other one, Dagger Storm, aren't really great. Thieves Guild, I guess if you were into 1v1ing, this would be kind of your thing, but still, I'd take Basilisk Venom over Thieves Guild any day, and Dagger Storm as well, just because they're just not as impactful as Basilisk Venom is. So as far as the utilities go, you can swap out a few things. For Infiltrator Signet, sometimes I swap out, and this might sound silly, Shadow Trap. And I'm going to explain Shadow Trap in a couple words. Really awesome. It is great, because you can use this to just like mind screw your enemies. Just like place it down on one side of the map, you go to the other, you hit the button, you teleport all the way back. I mean, it has, the main mechanic of this is that it has a 10,000 range Shadow Step basically back to it. So you place the trap down somewhere. So say you're going into Legacy of the Foe Fire. You go to your home point, cap it or whatever, or you run by it, you place the trap down at the point or somewhere around it. You go to mid. You can go from mid back all the way to home using this trap. It's kind of like a portal for thieves, just for them. It's really great, because not only that, it's also a break stun as well, so you break stun. If the trap is triggered, it's even a bonus. You'll notice when the trap triggers, because it will flip to a different icon called Shadow Pursuit, and that means someone run over it. So that means you can activate it and instantly teleport back. You'll gain Stealth, Fury, 10 stacks of Might, and it's also a break stun as well. So it's like a really good teleporter. So if, say, someone's capping that point that you just ran by, you capped it, and you go back to mid, and you see that it's coming, you just, boom, hit the Shadow Trap, come on in, and just take them out. Or, like, just distract them for long enough to, for someone else to come in and help you. Or if you take them down, it's good for you. But it's a really great skill. You can use it to do a lot of fun stuff. I recommend it if you really want to fool around with the thief a little bit. It's a fun skill to use. The other skill is that you could take, instead of Blinding Powder, you could take Shadow Refuge. It's an old staple, really just like it used to be a very mandatory skill. It's a good team skill, basically. The Shadow Refuge is basically used for team play a lot more, but with all the damage increases, Blinding Powder just kind of has taken over it, because it's instant stealth and you can use it anytime. It's also a shorter cooldown. Shadow Refuge is a 60-second cooldown, while Blinding Powder is a 40-second cooldown. Yeah, it heals you a little bit, but it's not really, I mean, that's not, you take it really for the long stealthing, because it just reapplies the stealth, that 4 seconds every second. So it pulses 5 times, it gives you pretty much 20 seconds of stealth. But it's up to you. You can play around with those two skills. I recommend doing that. See what you like. I prefer blinding powder because I've just gotten used to it after a while. That's really nice to have, like, just instant stealth sometimes, just to get out of sticky situations. And, you know, I don't know, just fool around, you know, play around with it. Play around with it. It's all about practice. So we're on to the tips and tricks portion of the videos. This is where I kind of tell you guys what, you know, cool things about the thief in general. Like, this section is meant to teach you mechanics of the game, how certain things work, because certain skill, you know, in every class there are certain skills that act the same way. The first thing I want to mention to you guys is how teleporting works for the thief, and it works for everything else that has an instant teleport. And this is kind of range to other classes. So for example, say I'm stomping someone in the middle of a fight, and that's not really good for a thief because we don't have very much toughness, and we can't take very much cleave damage from anything. So we want to stomp them securely. What we can do is, as we're activating the stomp, we're going through the animation, you can shadow step away, max range, out of the way. The animation will still be carrying on, and as you finish your animation, you hit the button again, it'll teleport you back to your original location, and you'll finish the stomp securely. That's kind of teaching, and that's a really important thing to know, because that can apply to your infiltrator signet, it can apply to your steel, because anything that instantly teleports doesn't interrupt channeled skills. So you could conceivably do a lot of stuff. You can withdraw and shadow step, you can withdraw and steal, you can do all sorts of other things. There's a lot of cool tricks you can do, and I would suggest practicing with, you know, teleporting around and activating certain skills on all the classes that have teleports like that. You know, Guardian, for example, I know I had a example of that. Ellie has an example of that with the Phoenix I showed you in Fresh Air. I know Necro has an example of that, and I'll talk about that when I make a Necro build, guide. But just, you know, just fool around with that. There's some really cool stuff you can do with the teleports, like, you know, really fancy stomping, you know, teleporting all over the place and stuff like that. It's really fun to do. So just try it out. The other thing I want to talk about is the main synergy that the pistol dagger has, or dagger pistol has with itself. So one of the main combos you have to get used to doing is stealthing yourself with Heartseeker and blinding powder. So Heartseeker is like a leap that does damage, but you're not really using it for the damage, you're using it as the leap finisher through the smoke field from black powder. And the thing is you leap through, you get a leap through a smoke field stealths you. So you can apply that stealth multiple times. The trick to applying stealth effectively with Dagger Pistol is to set the black powder down, aim your camera downwards, you know, point it downwards, and keep pointing it downwards, and then use Heartseeker. What this does is, what the camera direction does, is actually makes your Heartseeker shorter. If you were to point it forward, your Heartseeker would go farther. So this way you can actually go short, turn around really quickly, go again, turn around really quickly, go in. So you actually are like in the range of this little circle. It just makes applying stealth a lot easier and a lot quicker. That's what you need to do, especially if you're trying to stealth around or trying to recover from a really big hit or something like that. To sneak around, get out of a sticky situation. Really useful trick to do, and I recommend, if you really want to get into Thief, I recommend practicing it a lot. Practicing, because I've been playing Thief not a very long time, but I have been playing it a lot in the past, and it's still, like, I've been playing this game since forever, and I still have a hard time doing it perfectly. I know you can at least get 4 jumps through it max. It's really tricky to do, although I've heard people say you can't do it anymore, but I still think you can. Just be sure to practice that. That's the main thing that should be practiced on Thief. So the other thing on the Thief to know is that about backstabbing. This is not really a trick, but it's a tip. It's a tip to say that backstabbing, and what I mean by backstab, actually I should try to tell you what backstab is. If you look on your auto attack, every auto attack on the Thief for every weapon set has a stealth attack. The dagger is backstab. And so if you attack your foe while in the shadows, if you hit them from behind, you do double damage from behind. It does quite a bit of damage. It used to be really high, but it's not. It's pretty decent damage. It's a really good like burst against someone. So that's why I was talking about the stealth on steel trait. How it's really useful. You can just like go in and just like instantly backstab on someone. But don't. The main thing is don't focus on backstabbing. When you start focusing too much on backstabbing, you start to die. You start to kill yourself basically, because then you're just spending a lot more time doing something that you don't really need to be doing, instead of doing things like, you know, auto attacking and coming in, coming out, kind of stealthing, doing all sorts of other things, trying to confuse your foe. Basically, that's what Thief really does, about confusing your enemy. Like, you know, Mesmer is supposed to do that, but Thief is really good at that just because of all the teleports and the stealth that they have. Although lately Mesmer has gotten really good at that as well. But that's basically the basis of the gameplay of Thief, is don't focus on backstab so much. And you know what? Your auto attacks do some of the highest DPS, not just base damage, DPS in the game, because you're just attacking so fast. So think about that, and auto attacking isn't a bad thing, especially since when your wild strike you gain endurance from through your auto attack chain. That's also important to know. But it's just don't focus too much on backstab. Auto attack a bit more when you can, and focus on stealthing with your Heartseeker and Black Powder. Those are the main big tips on and landing your steel. Landing the steel is probably the most important, actually, on all of them. On top of everything is the most important thing. As long as you land your steel without randomly get blocked or randomly getting evaded, landing that steel is so important because it gives you all the advantage, especially versus other thieves. So that's important. Don't forget that any attack that you do with Basilisk Venom on does use the Basilisk Venom charges, even if it's blocked or evaded. So be careful about, just be aware that if you attack someone while Basilisk Venom is on and they have evaded, it uses up a charge. So the other thing is Shadow Shot's also really important. Get used to using it. It's a very strong skill. The blind goes through everything basically. The damage doesn't, but the blind does. It's a very strong skill, good for just chasing people around and doing damage. Has a very high base damage. And the other thing is headshot. This is another big base thief thing, is headshotting. I would suggest practicing headshotting skills. This one makes Thief so hard to play, but very rewarding, is because headshot just is great. It's a way to reliably interrupt big skills. So just know that, and practice on a friend. Say, hey, I need to practice my headshotting. Okay, I need you to be like Warrior and Ellie, and I'd be able to interrupt all your big skills that could possibly kill me or damage me or do a lot of bad things to me. And that's what headshot is for doing those random intros. Also useful for interrupting rezzing. Another good thing to be very good at. So that was it. That was Thief. That was all that I really could think of giving to you guys. If you guys thought that I missed anything, if there's something that was wrong that you think, nah Raz, that thing's stupid, you're wrong, then we'll talk about it in the comments or in the game, or you can mail me or whatever. You can talk to me on Twitter, and you talk to me on the Twitch stream on Saturday at 12. I gotta say it a million times, on the Twitch stream at 12 p.m. EST. Just make sure it is 12 p.m. EST. EST. I sometimes say P. It sounds like P, but it's an E. EST. So we can talk about it then. And I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Thank you so much for watching. Hope that you guys enjoyed the build and everything. You tried out. Tell me what your experience is, and I will see you guys next time. Bye.